I was really excited by the promising results of the first few patches of the Overwatch 2 beta. To start, there was a lot of strategies getting played across the different maps, which seemed like a dream come true. Then, Junker Queen was added, the one queen to rule them all. She breaks the game for team play and creates new problems Blizzard has never had to address. This is exactly the type of one comp result I thought could happen, as I addressed in my alpha review. Can Blizzard balance this mess? In today's video, we'll outline the problem and the possible solutions Blizzard might have available to them. Here's my secret, gamers. I lost 65 pounds on the keto diet. But like everybody, I still love fast food. This is what makes me love today's video sponsor so much. Factor is perfect for gamers. It's got the convenience of takeout, but with premium nutritional quality. Here I got a Peruvian shrimp bowl. Super easy, pop it out of the fridge, poke a few holes, 2 minutes in the microwave, and it's ready to eat. I've been trialing out Factor to know if I'm comfortable recommending them or not. The last 5 I've tried have blown me away with how much flavors packed into these little packs. Factor has given me a new perspective on the potential of fast food. It can be healthy and tasty. Let's try this out. Oh man. Oh, they actually put a unique blend of flavors. Only 8 grams of net carbs as well, makes it keto friendly. A huge variety of food. I'm excited each time I go to the fridge. Why are you eating that junk? You could be eating this right now. Menus are uploaded weekly with over 27 options and 34 additional add-ons. You can choose your own favorites or have them craft an order based on your preferences. You can do seafood, veggie, different meat options, keto like me, calorie smart, chef's favorite, vegan and vegetarian. You're gonna love Factor. You can use my link in the description or go to go.factor75.com and use our code POGOverwatch130 to get $130 off 6 boxes. Imagine losing weight while eating tasty fast food. That's living the gamer dream, everybody. First of all, the elephant in the room for me is that a comp like this, only the pros really play, and the rest of us playing with randoms October 4th just can't even execute this strategy. That alone makes for a balanced conundrum, which will be a major theme in this video and future videos, I'm sure, as Blizzard navigates the team versus average player problem in Overwatch 2. They're calling this comp the Jotes comp, or Junker Queen Goats. I think, for your own understanding, it's better to focus on the triple support part of that idea. That's what's making Junker Queen so powerful. She's a tank with supportive kit. With multiple auras, multiple speed boosts, Junker Queen's shout acts like its own mini ultimate, giving extra health in an instant. The comp can either rush in or dodge engagements entirely with this mobility and survive until rally and beat, which produces very similar long-term sustain effects like the Goats comp had. I'll say this right away. Speed boost stacking looks visibly OP when coordinated together. Maybe a simple quick fix is that AoE abilities, do they have to stack in Overwatch 2? Or maybe they get their effects reduced or capped somehow. And I know you might shudder at the idea of having team abilities getting weakened effects, because we do like Overwatch to be a team game, but the reality is most players can't even execute this strat as is when it's OP. So I say, what's the point of having a game mechanic that you need to be pro just to break its potential, and then it ruins the gameplay anyway? Nah, bro, I'll pass on that. With randoms, it's hard to coordinate one speed boost to get value. Having a second one to manage, forget it. And I don't think this AoE point should be hard to prove, but I'll try to anyway. Let me ask you, despite knowing the following heroes are really strong, seriously ask yourself, is it easy or even normal to get big value with random teammates with heroes like Lucio, Brigitte, or even Junker Queen in the beta? For me, the answer is an easy no. Like, they're good, but due to the errors in coordination you can expect with randoms, it's not like a constant guaranteed thing that's gonna break the game. Because speed isn't worth as much when your team doesn't path, aka move through the map with purpose, or coordinate well. And Junker Queen's shout is just a speed boost and rally put together. The recurring theme here is all this kit, although it stacks and becomes OP in a full team, requires the team to use it properly to make it actually function. That makes it a bit of a balancing nightmare, because if you have a comp with multiple heroes that already might be tricky to use with randoms, are somehow deemed massively overpowered at higher tiers, we could be at risk for Blizzard dumpstering those characters in order to satisfy the pros, when maybe there were better solutions available, and the byproduct would be they're basically unplayable for the rest of us. The route I hope they go is to learn how to somehow reduce the team's effectiveness of new hero kits to emulate the normal team ineffectiveness of playing with randoms. In other words, maybe to cap what a pre-made coordinated team could do so that it looks like what a normal game you and I would play. So if it's rare for us to properly coordinate multiple speed boosts, well, just don't let them cap out so outrageously to begin with. Maybe there should be inherent weaknesses of combining certain types of characters together. Like, do we need multiple AoE healing auras on the same team comp? I mean, the other answer that we've been saying for years, in order to minimize the effectiveness of stacking kit, would be a format change, but we'll save that maybe for another video. There might be a format change. I don't actually know. But at this point, if Blizzard hasn't got the memo on that, it's never going to happen. So we got to work within the rules we have. But interesting to me is just like when there was multiple ranged poked shield tanks in Overwatch 1, this Jotes comp also has stacking melee effects. There's a Genji blade, a sword, a flail. Turns out if you can start to get multiple heroes to do the same thing, they can combine into a transformer or the big Power Rangers mecha robot, whichever reference is funnier to you. And that result of a unified team comp is always better than a team comp with mixed elements. And that's just a long way to explain. We've seen this happen before. If you can make all your heroes poke, brawl, melee, whatever, and the comp works, it has the potential to be the best comp. Wasn't hard to see that coming. Let's look at Junker Queen specifically now. In theory, Junker Queen's abilities are difficult to land, which means there's a rather punishing skill floor and a high skill ceiling, which should be great for a character always, right? You gotta learn her to get effectiveness out of her. So for the average player, I in no way think even OP Junker Queen would be seen as this insurmountable problem. So that's one aspect of good design. But all those benefits will never be a formula to help cap off the potential of pros, because pros are paid to find the skill ceiling of heroes anyway. Hanbin on the Dallas Fuel is absolutely unfair on Junker Queen. He hits long distance knife throws with regularity. So whereas a hero like this maybe is perfect for the average player, it's bound to be broken in the hands of pros because they cap out the mechanics and can utilize the support kit. But we've already seen the Giga Tanks have a lot of offensive potential. It's only the combination of that offensive skill ceiling with a support aura attached that has game-breaking implications. The shout giving speed and health creates an entirely new playstyle and matchup problem for any other comp. But my real concern is that it's hard for me to view a world where the Jotes or the Queen herself is competitive but not overpowered. I think they're either going to make the shout and J Queen great or terrible for team play for the following reasons. At the moment, the shout gives speed and health, and no other tank has a button to do anything like that. I think the overhealth maybe can be compared to the likes of a Zarya bubble, but more like the 1-3-2 experiment where Zarya had a full team bubble. Now that's stronger in terms of protection, but more importantly, it was also physically bigger. A separate hitbox. Another aspect of this that I think makes it so strong is that the health goes onto the character rather than, let's say, I don't know, could we imagine another damage blocking ability a tank might have? A physical object you'd need to orient around? Maybe like a big blue rectangle. Are those still allowed in Overwatch 2? Remember how fair it was to interact with the first version of shielding in Overwatch 1 a million years ago? When you protected your team, you did little else in the meantime. Or there was big trade-offs to your offensive potential if you could protect your team. Commanding Shout is more like a support ult on cooldown when it's maximized. Shout giving speed and health to the characters. Other kit can't really play around it at all. Let me explain why. In the beta, I felt like heroes like Reinhardt or Zarya had a good matchup against Junker Queen. I could block her damage more easily and do my own more easily because their attacks are easier to land. I think if we were able to still play the beta right now, that would remain how the average player felt for the most part. It's easier to play around those types of tanks because it doesn't require you to move in a specific way or engage or disengage together. But in pro play, the Junker Queen comp actually pokes as well. She's not just a brawler, that's the trick. That's the weird nuance about her. The Jotes comp always has a hit scan, and let's say you did go up against a Rhine as the Jotes comp, your Sojourn would be farming the shield and jumping over it, looking for a pickoff And Junker Queen herself, although not great at range, is a budget roadhog in that she can pull enemies out into the open as she's poking. So what happens is, in the type of matchup against what should be a weak matchup for her, where she's brawling, what the Jotes comp can actually do is poke and prod and dodge a brawl fight. In ranked, you probably won't see this because the Junker Queen thinks, well, I gotta go get the objective, right? But if you play to just win the team fight and the deathmatch battle and forego some objective, which is amazing on multiple of the types of modes Overwatch 2 has, especially push, for example, what ends up happening is Junker Queen can brawl when she needs to or poke when she needs to. And whereas traditionally a rush style character like Rhine up against the poke comp would be like the Rhine would have a Lucio and the poke characters wouldn't have one. Because in order to poke, you would need maybe a Zenyatta, a Baptiste, a Mercy, but the Jotes comp is kind of a Frankenstein monster of a composition because the Sojourn is really all the kill potential you need, working up to the railgun shots, and everyone else can kind of just play to survive. And the normal logic of the game would be the Reinhardt could advance onto the poke comp, corner them, and then close the distance to swing. That's a play that fundamentally cannot happen against the Junker Queen comp. The Queen will always be able to dodge that fight and keep poking, looking for her ranged knife to land, and picking something off. Why is that the case? The reason is that both teams have one Lucio speed boost, so that means they can stay 1-to-1 when one is rushing in, the other can run away. But then on top of that, one of the tanks has an additional speed boost. The math of those cooldowns means the Junker Queen comp can always control the distance. Distance control in Overwatch is insanely valuable, so much so that I've been saying that movement felt like the most powerful skill in Overwatch 2. Another reason, even after nerfs, Lucio was still an insane hero when he was often middling at best in Overwatch 1, at least in the late stages. Overwatch 1 had far more static chokes and building up ults to engage. There was always more abilities and defenses to get through once we entered the power creep era. Speed looked like a weak ability, but in Overwatch 2, with a constant ebb and flow of the battle, positioning matters so much that Lucio has a big role to play in this, and Junker Queen is just +1 extra ability that the team has and no other tank has. So what happens is the Rhine comp needs to close the distance against Junker Queen to not get poked out, but Junker Queen has an extra speed button, so good luck ever swinging the hammer on her. Sure, you can force the objective on some maps, but the Jotes comp powers up with ultimates very similar to how the Goats comp did before it. So once the extra lives start channeling, winning one battle might just mean losing the war later anyway. All right, this is all very complicated. Another thing they could do is have the shout affect her alone. I've heard maybe no health for the team, but I'll be honest, I really think stacking the speed will continue to be a problem like I'm outlining. This is what happens when new heroes come to the game that break the previously established archetypes of comps that we understood. Junker Queen maybe was imagined to need to rush in, but does a Brig need to rush in? Well, not if you know how to play her right. It's about disengaging to channel her value. Junker Queen kind of functions the same as Brig in that way, where yeah, she'll get more value once she does get on you, but her playstyle is more complicated than that. You don't necessarily have to all in like you might have thought, if you're playing as a team anyway. In that way, it reminds exactly like Goats and sucks for the same reasons. Maybe Blizzard could have fixed this with a more fundamental rule change, like removing the ability to stack AoE healing long ago, or at least diminishing its effect a lot, capping it out at a certain value maybe. The reasons why they didn't do that is because they want each individual player to feel like their abilities work when they use them, which makes sense. Like if you ever push a button and it doesn't do the thing you expected it to do, that's a big problem. Like you have to learn every team comp interaction to know, oh, my Brig healing doesn't work when my Lucio is using his heal aura, but how do I know that to make sure that I'm maximizing my kit? It's all very confusing in what already is fairly confusing kit to begin with. What I think is a more healthy goal, though, is even if there are some complicated rules and interactions, that the things that feel like the normal game are the baseline power that we play around. And what I mean is the Jodes comp should not be the be all end all of the game. If that's happening, something is wrong, because as you can tell, it's hard to perceive the gameplay at all. And although there are cool plays being made, the comp is so forgiving that it just feels like we're back to the worst parts of Overwatch 1, where there's overwhelming abilities and it's hard to even see the action, which feels bad because we were just off 2 straight patches where Overwatch 2 felt cemented in a new identity. My expectation for Overwatch 2 is that team abilities need work to utilize and won't produce the exact effect we're getting now, which is they kind of easily channel together once you have the baseline understanding of the individual hero's contribution to the comp. The reason why this Jotes meta looks so foreign to me, or at least what my expectations are, is that all of that individual skill and carry potential starts to just leave when it's more of an attritional battle of cooldown exchanges and long-term positioning in the brawl. There's a lot of Overwatch analysts that get really excited about these types of things, but despite being able to retroactively explain the nuances of these things, like one of the coolest things that I've seen so far is the Dallas Fuel's ability to play around the Sojourn's Disruptor shot, where yes, you've got these two brawling team comps, but the big AoE damage as well as the slow interrupts the pathing of those engagements and can almost like solo win a fight. But again, we're talking about an ability that slows, that's not even supposed to really be a big impact ability, but in these long attritional fights, it's sort of like in GOATs when like Lucio low-key would be the bigger playmaker, which just doesn't seem like how the game should function. Supportive abilities should support. They shouldn't combine together to make a long list of chores for you to scratch off before you get to the gameplay. Let's not have that again in Overwatch 2, please. This wasn't hard for me to guess would happen. If you rewatch the alpha review, the second half of it, you can see a lot of my theory crafting adding up as soon as there is a unique hero that's required for the meta. Because the problem in the all pick Overwatch format is that whenever there's a unique kit in one of the roles, there is no competition. So if a Giga Tank with a support cooldown is the best option, how could you justify playing anything else? It's not like you have a different play style in terms of one comp likes close range, one comp goes high ground, like we had in the first few patches. No, here, the thing that's strongest is the triple support aspect. 2 speed boosts, in my opinion, which causes a problem because if the tool you need to counteract the thing the enemy's picking is the same hero, you're doomed to mirror matches. How do you beat speed without your own speed? Like maybe if a tank slowed, funnily enough, they removed the seismic slam concussion effect from Doomfist. Maybe that's what it needed. If some tanks can speed, well, then some should slow. I still don't get why they took that away. At least on paper, that would make sense, right? So either the game needs lots of these options to fan out the rock, paper, scissors availability, and I'll certainly be impressed if Blizzard finds a way to balance what we used to think of traditional Overwatch 1 shielding and protection with this more MOBA-esque ability set of buffs and debuffs. I think it's going to be tough. Support the channel by checking out today's video sponsor. Head to go.factor75.com and use our code POGOverwatch130 at checkout to get $130 off across 6 boxes. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave it a like, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to actually get notified when our upcoming videos come out. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for YourOverwatch. I'll see you guys next time.